Hi guys, welcome back to my channel. In today's video, we're talking about the Texas Chainsaw Massacre 2, which came out in 1986, or yeah, 1986. Now let me tell you guys, I have not touched the Texas Chainsaw Massacre franchise up until this point because the first one is perfection, and I didn't want my image of it to be ruined or altered in any way. But after I saw the new Texas Chainsaw Massacre 2022, which I will link in the description box below, I have a video reviewing that movie and what I thought of it, I decided that it wouldn't be too harmful to dive into that franchise a little bit. And so I actually was interested in the Texas Chainsaw Massacre 2, which I've heard gets more praise than any of the other Texas Chainsaw sequels, which I don't hear any good things about. The only other one I've seen is 3D from 2012, and I don't have very many good things to say about that one either, you guys. So today we're going to be talking about the Texas Chainsaw Massacre 2. So this movie actually is directed by Tobe Hooper, and it actually has a completely different tone to it than the original. So this one goes the horror comedy route, taking on an 80s sort of vibe, versus the original gritty 1970s, like, what's the word to describe it, exploitative, disturbing horror. And I think I like that the second one took a different direction than the first, because there's no way you could replicate the filming, like, conditions and just the performances and some of the iconic scenes of the first movie. And so in order to make a sequel, you're going to have to change the tone. And I like movies that do this, like, for instance, Alien. The second Alien, I think it's called Aliens, actually takes on an action movie like premise rather than a horror movie premise, because they figured they couldn't get the same vibe and they wouldn't be able to get it right if they just copied what they did with the first one. And that's exactly what I think happened here with Texas Chainsaw Massacre 2. Also, it takes place like a full decade later, basically, so they have to be relevant with the times and what was popular in the 80s, which was a lot of like schlock, like 80s horror comedy. So I'm just gonna talk spoilers in this video because this movie is so old. So if you haven't seen this, I recommend that you give it a watch. And with that being said, let's go ahead and just get straight into the review. Here's a synopsis worth reading, you guys. Chainsaw-wielding maniac Leatherface is up to his cannibalistic ways once again, along with the rest of his twisted clan, including the equally disturbed Chop Top. This time, the masked killer has his sights on pretty disc jockey Stretch, who teams up with a Texas lawman to battle the psychopath and his family deep within their lair, a macabre abandoned amusement park. Let's talk about the best thing about this movie, which is by far our final girl, Stretch, who is a radio host for like a rock station, and she accidentally listens in on and records the murder of some people by the Sawyer family, which happens in a car in a very, very unlikely scenario that actually turned out to be really, really funny, which I think they were going for. I was really surprised to see this opening kill. Like, I was not expecting this movie to go that far into 80s schlock, but I guess I'm okay with it just because I'm not mad at the movie. I'd be more mad at the movie if they tried to replicate too much of the first one, but we'll get to that later. Okay, so Stretch accidentally records the murder happening, and she tries to turn it in. She tries to approach Lefty with this, and he turns her down for whatever reason and won't even listen to the tape, even though she says she has the entire murder recorded on it, which was really confusing for me. I don't understand why that plot point happened at the beginning, but whatever. And so she tries to kind of convince him to listen in. Eventually he approaches her later and he needs her to help him. I didn't entirely understand this plot point of like him refusing to listen to this tape that she presents to him. It's almost like somebody's presenting evidence and then he refuses to take it, which didn't make sense to me. All the while, Stretch is unknowingly working alongside one of the Sawyer family members, which was interesting to me, to say the least. At first I was very confused by this, and then I realized later it kind of played into the plot a bit more. But let me tell you guys where I started to become very disappointed in this movie. So at one point when Leatherface reveals himself to Stretch, there's an entire sequence where she tries to convince him not to kill her and everything like that. But eventually the Sawyers get the best of her and they tie her up and recreate the dinner party scene. And let me tell you, this was completely pointless. I do not think the dinner party scene needed to be remade in any sort of way because it follows the same formula as the original, and now we just have Stretch replacing Sally and screaming and the entire thing. And let me tell you, I kind of just got bored and lost interest. I was on my phone at this point because I was like, this is not something new. We've seen this before, and it's not scary because it's part of a horror comedy and the tone isn't there, and it's an exact pretty much repeat. They take out the hammer and everything. It's an exact repeat of what happens in the first one. So I was pretty much bored, as I said. I didn't really pay attention. I might have missed some parts of the movie because this went on for a while and I was not really into it. Did it ruin the whole movie for me though? I don't think so. I think that I still was able to enjoy this movie due to some of the new elements and mainly due to Stretch, our final girl, who does a great job and is just a fun personality to be following, and I also love her final girl outfit as well. So this whole time they're also in a theme park, and at the very end of the movie a grenade goes off and presumably kills everybody, and of course Stretch is remaining as our final girl. Which they of course were able to obviously like ignore this as they made more Texas Chainsaw Massacre movies later, but that's okay. So I'm trying to think of what other positives I have to say about this film besides our final girl and the comedy aspect. I think another thing I liked about this was how Leatherface still kind of like has his same personality, and so does the other Sawyer, the gas station Sawyer. I can never remember his name, but the gas station Sawyer from the first one. They have their same personalities, and the family is just as wacky and convoluted, or not convoluted, just as wacky and like working together in this process as they had been in the first one, which is something that Texas Chainsaw Massacre 2022 completely failed at portraying at all, was like the wackiness of Leatherface and the Sawyer family, which is part of what makes the Texas Chainsaw Massacre even the Texas Chainsaw Massacre. Like, you can't just make a Michael Myers character and then, you know what, you guys can go watch the video. It's linked in the description down below. So this one I enjoyed way more than I enjoyed 2022, which is actually surprising because this one was way more cheesy and not meant to be taken seriously, whereas 2022, it feels like they tried to really touch on some heavy subject matter, even though there's like so much gore and lighthearted way of treating things. There were so many like just plot points in there that were so heavy that they were trying to, I guess, include and weave into the plot. So confusing, you guys. All in all, I was not mad at the Texas Chainsaw Massacre 2, and I actually fairly enjoyed it, except for the end. I got very, very bored as they were redoing pretty much the same thing that happens in the first one. Please, sequels, don't try to recreate iconic scenes like exact take for take. Don't try to do it. There's no reason to do it. It's never going to be able to match up, and it's just going to leave audiences kind of bored. And it might be that they just didn't know what to do at the end there, but like instead of a dinner party, just do something else. Use the theme park to your advantage, maybe. I don't know. I don't really have much to say. I mean, this wasn't like the greatest movie, but it also wasn't bad, and I wasn't angry at it, and I probably would rewatch it eventually if I wanted to, if I was in the mood for this type of movie. So what did you guys think of this movie? Did you enjoy it for what it was? And should I watch the Texas Chainsaw Massacre 3 now, which has very, very low ratings, by the way, and I believe it came out in the 90s. And so I don't have very high hopes for that one. And again, I've been avoiding the Texas Chainsaw Massacre franchise for a reason. If you guys are interested in this type of like franchise horror stuff, I did make a video ranking the entire Nightmare on Elm Street franchise, which I can also link down below. Hopefully I remember to include all these links. And I'm planning on doing one for the Friday the 13th movies eventually too, but it's going to be very painful. And the Halloween movies maybe as well, which I don't have much of an interest in because I only really enjoyed the first one and then the new ones, but we'll see about that. But if you guys think I should give some of the other Texas Chainsaw Massacre movies a chance, which honestly, the reviews and everything don't entice me, Let me know in the comments down below what you guys think. That's all for this video, you guys. I've seen a lot of really good movies lately. I saw X, I saw Fresh. I haven't made a review for that yet. If you want a review for Fresh, let me know in the comments below. And I'm getting very excited for The Northman, which is not a horror, but you know, Robert Eggers. So I will be rewatching his other films leading up to the release of The Northman, and maybe I'll make some videos or a video related to that as well if I have time. Yeah. Okay, well, thanks for watching, you guys, and don't forget to leave a comment down below. Subscribe to the channel if you enjoy these videos. I post whenever I can, and I just try to include a lot of different types of videos, but I've done a lot of straight movie reviews lately, so maybe I should mix it up a little bit soon. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you in the next video. Bye!